What's up, guys, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 28. For all practical purposes, this will be the final core scenario. After this, we'll be getting into the full battles. I know Quatre Bras is considered a core scenario, but in the interest of having all the full battles in one playlist on YouTube, I'm going to include the full battles of Quatre Bras as part of the army scenarios, even though technically it's considered they're considered core scenarios. So after this, we'll only have 8 scenarios left in the game. 2 scenarios for each of the full battles of Quatre Bras, Ligny, Wavre, and Waterloo, and each one is from the French side and one from the Allied side. So we're starting to get to the end of it here. And so today we're going to be taking a look at the final core scenario. It is the French scenario from Wavre called To Brussels. Now, this is the longest and biggest of all the core scenarios. It's even bigger than Count D'Erlon's attack. We can command the same number of divisions as in Count D'Erlon's attack, 4 divisions, but we also have some cavalry. We have a cavalry division and a whole bunch of artillery. So this is even a little bit bigger um, than Count D'Erlon's attack, and it's by far the longest. It's 2.5 hours long. By the end of this, with my introduction and whatever I say at the end, you're probably going to be looking at close to a 3-hour video. Uh, so a video this long, when you guys like get the notifications, I would still wait a while because it's going to take YouTube quite a while to process this video into HD, into 1080p. So when it first goes up, it'll probably be blurry and crappy looking for quite a while until YouTube gets a chance to process it. All right, so let's get right into this here. All right, so this takes place on the second day of Wavre, so after the Battle of Waterloo. It's now June 19th, and it's 8:30 in the morning. Now, at this point, Grouchy does not know. Word has not reached him that the Napoleon's army of the North was routed at Waterloo. He still doesn't know. He's going on his previous orders from the Emperor, which basically are telling him to push the Prussians out of Wavre and press on to Brussels. So he does not yet know that Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo. Okay, so so it's June 19th, 8:30 in the morning, and the length of play is 2.5 hours. And the situation is, thanks to the rapid action of Generals Pajol and Teste yesterday evening, we have crossed the river Dyle at Limale. The divisions Pachot and Vichery have also crossed the river during the night. Hulot's division and Exelmans Corps are marching to Limale too. General Gerard was wounded yesterday, so the 4th Corps command is now assigned to General Van Damme. The troops of 3rd Corps will remain on the right side of the Dyle and will cross the river at the first opportunity. The 4th Corps troops need to drive back the Prussian troops and possibly surround them and open the road to Brussels in order to reach the Emperor today or tomorrow. All right, and the mission is to push the Prussian troops back, clearing all the north side of the Dyle Valley, and occupy all the relevant strong points of the area, including Wavre. Okay, so I know at this point, I usually go over what our strategy is going to be on this map here. I give you kind of an introduction. The truth of the matter is, for this scenario, though, this map really isn't sufficient. So we're going to actually, at the beginning of the scenario, I'm going to pop open the mini map in game, and we're actually going to go over it, what our plan is, and what we're going to do at that point. So, because this map really doesn't tell the story well enough. So we'll scroll down here some more. All right, so the forces available, we have the French 4th Corps, and it's being commanded by Van Damme. His original corps, the 3rd Corps, is on the opposite side of the river in front of Wavre, and Grouchy is pretty much taking command of them. So yeah, we have the 12th Division, the 13th Division, the 14th Division, and the 21st Division. So each one of those has 2 brigades and an 8-gun artillery battery. Plus, we have the 7th Cavalry Division under Morin and 2 brigades and also 8 guns. On top of that, we have the 4th Corps Artillery Reserve, which is 3 batteries, and that's 24 guns. So we will not be wanting for artillery in this battle. We need 35,000 points for a major victory. Don't let that scare you. I know that's a crazy high score, but I'm going to explain how we're going to reach it, because I know it's when you guys first pop open the scenario and see the victory, the objectives hexes and what they're worth, you're going to be like, this is impossible. There's no way you can reach 35,000 points. And you're right. You can't. But I'll show you what we're going to do. I cracked a scenario a while ago. Okay, so we're going to launch a scenario here. And as I said, when the scenario launches, I'm going to pop open the mini map and we're going to go over what the overall strategy is. Alrighty, so here is Van Dam, and as I said, I'm going to pop open the map in a second here. All right, here we go. All right, so here's all our forces, or basically the 4th Corps. The 3rd Corps is basically right here in front of Wavre and the crossing at the Bierges. This is what they tried to cross yesterday on June 18th, and were basically held in check by the Prussians. Late on the 18th, some forces under Pajol and Teste division finally were able to cross downriver from Wavre at Limale here. And we've overnight moved a whole bunch of forces across the river. So we have 3 divisions across the river right now. We have Teste, Pajol, and Vichery. Hulot's division is right over here, and they're marching to us. They're not under our command right now. They will become available to us once they reach Limale. We also have Morin's cavalry division right here of 2 brigades, and then we have some more cavalry that is not under our command. All right, so you're going to see a whole bunch of different objectives here. These are all hold objectives, and they're not worth a real lot. 50 points a minute, 50 points a minute. This whole first line here is all just worth 50 points a minute. This is also worth 50 points a minute. These 3 are worth 100 points a minute. All right, so here's the real trick to this scenario. And it does help if you know something about the Battle of Wavre and how it ended. Basically, what's going to happen here is it's 8:30 a.m. right now. 2 hours from now, at 10:30, Grouchy will receive word that Napoleon has been defeated at Waterloo and that the Army of the North is in full retreat. At that point, he realizes that he's in danger of becoming trapped, as the other Prussian forces at Waterloo can now come around and trap him. So he needs to disengage. So what happens to simulate this is at 10:30, all these objectives up here disappear, and 2 new ones appear. One is going to appear right here at this little crossroads right here, and there's an artillery, or it might be here. I think it's here. I think it's actually right here. There's a bunch of artillery here, and right at this crossroads, right here, one is going to appear, and then another one is going to appear right here at this crossroads. Now, I hadn't played the scenario in a while, so I kind of forgot where they appeared, and I at first think this one appears here, but it really appears here. So when it does finally appear, I just quickly rush my troops over to occupy it. These 2 objectives are worth each of them is worth 500 points a minute, right? So with the 2 of them, that's 1,000 points per minute. And it appears at 10:30 and the scenario goes to 11. That's 30 minutes of getting 1,000 points a minute. So there's your 30,000 points right there. You need 35,000 points for a major victory. And you have basically 2 hours to get 5,000 points. I mean, that's nothing in a scenario that's 2.5 hours long, or in case of the objectives, 2 hours long. It is real easy. What we're going to do, because we already know where these objectives appear, here and here, although as I said, during the game, I thought it was down here. We have more than enough forces across the river already to have our way with the Prussians. And I'll show you what we're going to do. The Prussians are lined up basically like this. There's only 1 corps, and about a third of them are in the Wavre area. The rest of them are strung out along a line, kind of like this, starting from here and in the woods. Over here is mostly cavalry, and then they have some infantry battalions kind of stretched out in here, kind of loosely along the objectives here, and they're stretched out pretty thin. Uh, what we're going to do is we're going to take our forces here, and there's a nice, really nice high hill kind of right here, and we're going to take our artillery reserve and set them up, and we're going to have a nice little grand battery, kind of a mini version of kind of what's at Waterloo. Uh, you know, about 30 guns we're going to have set up here. And we're going to spend about the first half hour or so just softening the Prussians up, just bombing away at them with 30 guns. And it makes a difference over 30 minutes, to an hour, believe me. It really starts taking its toll on them. And we're not really going to worry about the cavalry, though the Prussian cavalry will come forward. We're going to take our cavalry and set up a flank guard, basically right here. We're just going to set them up, put their artillery out front, and, they're just going to be there to guard our flank. The cavalry that's not under our control, the AI cavalry, they're going to attack this Prussian cavalry. It's mostly a stalemate, but they both end up, kind of tuckering each other out, and nothing is really going to, matter for us. We do not need to capture all these objectives, right? We're just going to go for these two, right? What we're going to do is, while our artillery is softening the Prussians up, we're going to take our forward divisions here, I think our Teste and Pajol, and we're going to move them down the road here. And this left flank here of the Prussians is not held very heavily at all. There's only like 2 battalions there. And we're going to just take a whole brigade and just drive them out of there and get this objective. And then what we'll do is we'll bring up some cavalry and bring up some more troops, and we'll slowly start to swing our line this way and push the Prussians off, and we'll eventually get this objective too. At that point, we'll be getting, 100 points a minute from these 2 objectives. And 100 points a minute over an hour is 6,000 points, and we have 2 hours, So we're going to get, somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 points. And that's fine. That's more than enough, because we're going to get our other 30,000 points from those 2 objectives once they appear. And we're going to occupy those positions before those objectives ever appear, so that as soon as they do appear, we're immediately collecting points from them. Now, as I said, I goofed and thought this was where the second one appeared. So I actually sent the troops that I want to hold the objectives down to this crossroads. But it's only like a 3-minute run. So as soon as I see it appear here, I just run the troops up and occupy the right position. But, you guys don't need to do that. You guys know it's going to be here now, because I'm telling you. So yeah, 1 objective here, 1 objective here. So what we're going to do is, with Hulot's division, when they finally come under our control in the village, he has 2 brigades. What we're going to do is take command of his 2 brigades individually. We're going to send 1 brigade to stand here and 1 brigade to stand here. And we'll send the corps commander to stand here too, Van Dam, just to, keep him out of the way, and, back here where he's safe and sound. And, so we're going to have basically 1 brigade from Hulot's division occupying this objective, and the other brigade from Hulot's division occupying this objective. And the objectives don't appear until 10:30, but we have plenty of time. So, we're just, when they finally become available to us, we're just going to send them over there just so they're there. We don't need them for the attack. And that's basically it. Honestly, you could take your sweet time with the scenario. There's no rush, because you really don't need to get a lot of points from anything you're doing up here, because 30,000 of your points are coming from these 2 objectives, so long as you send the troops to occupy these 2 areas so that they're already there when these objectives pop up. These are the real key objectives, and they pop up at 10:30 exactly on the dot. And at the same time, every one of these objectives will disappear. The idea here is that you're simulating the transition from Grouchy trying to attack and clear the way to Brussels, to him receiving the news that Napoleon has been defeated at Waterloo and he better get the hell out of there. So the situation completely changes. And if you don't know that, what ends up happening is you think you got to get 35,000 points by attacking and capturing every one of these objectives. And that's impossible. It doesn't yield enough points, and you don't have enough time to capture all these objectives. And then what happens is, at 10:30, when you might be finally, about able to capture a good majority of these objectives, they all disappear, and you're not in position now to capture these objectives because you probably didn't know they were going to appear. So it does help to play the scenario once beforehand, which is how I figured it out. I played it once beforehand, and then I saw the objectives appear, and then I figured out what I was supposed to do. So that's basically it. We don't need to get all these objectives. We really can get away with just capturing this one and then this one, and that's going to be more than enough to get us the points we need over 2 hours. So even though they're not worth a lot, they're worth 50 points a minute. You got to remember it's over a course of 2 hours. Plus, we're going to be earning a lot of points from bombarding the hell out of the Prussians with our little mini Grand Battery. So that's basically the plan. The real key objectives are going to appear here and here at 10:30 in the morning, 2 hours from now. And we're going to send Hulot's 2 brigades, one here and one here, with their brigade commanders to occupy those objectives when they appear, which frees up all our forces here to pretty much do whatever we want. And like I said, you can pretty much take your sweet time and have some fun with this scenario because you have plenty of time to just play around and, you know, take your time smashing the Prussians with artillery, and you can kind of just kind of swagger out and kind of take these objectives whenever you damn well feel like it. In fact, that to me that's just the easiest thing to do. But honestly, anything will work. If you want to control your cavalry and have them attack the Prussian cavalry up here, you could follow them with some infantry and attack these 2 points. And do that. There's pretty much any route you're going to take to capture, 2 objectives is going to work for you. It really depends on, I guess, what your favorite arm to fight with is. Are you an artillery guy like me? If you are, then there's a real nice hill to set up a huge battery and just bomb away. I love artillery. I would be, if I was living in the Napoleonic times, I would be an artilleryman. If you like cavalry, then this is the way to go. There's a whole bunch of Prussian cavalry out here. Your allies that are under AI control, they're going to help you out, and you have a whole cavalry division here. You could support them with infantry and just run roughshod over the Prussians here. Either way you want to go and do it, it's a good time had by all. So, all right, that's basically the plan, and let's get this video started. Alrighty, so I leave this map up until the courier message pops up. Alright, so General Van Dam, we have finally crossed the Dyle, and now we are ready to defeat the remaining Prussians and resume our march to Brussels. The enemy seems to occupy the line of hills south of Wavre from the Bois of Rixenhart to Birges. You need to force this first line, occupy the Bois de Mont, and finally Wavre, opening the road to Brussels. Hulot's division and Exelmans corps are still moving in order to reach you from the south side of the river. For the moment, you have only the support of Pajol's cavalry corps, and that is from Marshal Grouchy. And as I said, he does not know Napoleon has been defeated at Waterloo, so he's still following his previous orders to kick the Prussians in the butt and move towards Brussels. So. Right here, here is our hill. Look at this hill. This is a really high hill, and we're going to bring 3 batteries of 24 guns and wheel them up right on top of this hill. And the Prussians are kind of lined up right along here. I mean, they are just a perfect target. And so, yeah, here come the guns. And I'm taking charge of the battery commanders, so they'll just set up exactly where I want them to set up. But just the battery commanders, not the guns themselves. You notice I hit take command of all leaders, not take command of all subordinates. And here come the guns. All right, so we're going to get our lead division going, which I believe is Teste division. And I think we're going to take Teste, who's the smaller of our 2 divisions, and we're going to put them on the hill behind the guns. And we're going to take a page out of Wellington's book and keep them behind the reverse slope so that the Prussian artillery, which, by the way, is no match for our force, can't hit us. So we can hit the Prussian infantry, but we're hidden behind the ridge, so they can't hit us. So we are using Wellington's reverse slope technique there. Alrighty, the next thing we're going to do, I think, is set up our cavalry flank guard just so that the Prussian cavalry can't swoop in behind us. And that is the artillery battery commander. And I can't see anything in these woods, so I'm just going to click on any battalion and then use the order of battle to get to the division commander. And I'm going to set him to hold because I'm not looking to attack. I just want him to be a flank guard. And I'm going to set him up kind of right in here. Right in here. And once he gets there, I'll fine-tune his position. And I used the command map to move the whole division. I had the brigade commanders off of take charge, so they're under AI control, so I can move the whole division with just the command map. And now I'm just using the command map to check their facing of what it's going to be when they arrive. And that looks pretty good. They're facing that way. This is where the Prussian cavalry is. So that's a good place to start. And again, the command map isn't in real time, so it's showing me their destination and what it's going to be when they arrive, even though they're not really there yet. Alright, so we have our guns advancing towards the hill, and we have our lead division Teste, who is going to set up behind them on the reverse slope. And our main attack force is going to be Pajol and Vichery's division. And I think Vichery is in the lead simply because he's closer. And as I said, we're just going to advance down the road, kind of even with the hill. And we'll set up in line with artillery front in the front, so we can just start softening up the Prussian position. And there we go, line with the artillery in the front. And we see them moving out. And then over here, I believe we have Pajol's division. There he is. And we're going to set him up just in column, kind of right behind where Vichery's division is going to deploy, just as our kind of our reserve. And as I said, I'm really going to take my sweet time with this scenario because I have plenty of time to play with here. We have 2 hours to only amass, you know, 5,000, 6,000 points, 7,000 points, whatever we can really get, as long as it's above 5,000. And, you know, we have just plenty of time to do that. So I'm going to have some fun with this. I'm going to set up a grand battery or a mini grand battery, bomb away on the Prussians, you know, and just kind of take my time and have some fun with this one. And I'm going to immediately send Van Dam to the objective hex location, both because I'm going to command this from the division level anyway. I don't need the corps commander, and 2, to get him out of harm's way. I don't want him anywhere near the other side of the river. Now, I put on the use roads, and you can see this icon. And one of the things I'm doing is making sure, see, this is what you don't want. Notice how the roads, the used roads, actually take him across the Prussian lines. He's just marching down the road. We actually have to bring him back across the river first and then use roads so that he's on this side of the river. Otherwise, when you use roads, it just takes the shortest route. And in that case, that would take him right through the Prussian lines. So we're actually going to bring him across the river and then assign that location. And we have to do the same thing with Hulot. We first have to get his whole division back across the river after they come under our command in Limale, and bring him back across the river, and then we can send his 2 brigades to the objectives. Because we don't want them marching through the Prussian lines. We just want them to go to the objective, you know, they need to go to. And again, those objectives aren't there yet. They don't appear until 10:30, so 2 hours from now. And those are the real money objectives because each one is 500 points a minute. So that's 1,000 points a minute if you have them both occupied. They're active for 30 minutes. There's your 30,000 points. Easy money. which is why I say we have plenty of time, and we're pretty much free to do kind of whatever we want to here. It's not going to be hard at all to get 5,000 points in 2 hours. So you can see our big battery moving into position. The artillery reserve is 3 batteries, but we're also going to put up some of our divisional batteries that are attached to the divisions, and I think we're going to have like 32 or 48 a lot of guns, like 48 guns maybe. It's a pretty big grand battery we're going to set up on here. And I love artillery. It's probably no secret by now that artillery is my favorite arm in the game. So the chance to set up a big mass battery like this and have them bomb away is just like something I love to do. And we're not setting them up. It's not going to be too far away, like the Grand Battery in Waterloo is. This is going to be. We're going to have them pretty close, so they're going to do some decent damage on the Prussians. And here comes our cavalry. A pretty big cavalry division, 2 big brigades, and a 6-gun horse battery. And we're going to set them up as a flank guard. And once they kind of get here, I think I'll, kind of finesse this position a little bit better. And I'm just adjusting the facing a little bit. But when they really get into position, I'll bring the guns forward and set up a defense. The Prussians, our cavalry is going to come from around here. But as I said, they're going to be kind of intercepted by the other cavalry division that we don't have command over, that's way off to the left. So yeah, we're getting all our divisions moving here, and our little grand battery has almost reached the top of the hill where they'll start setting up and bombing away on the Prussians. Okay, now off to the left of this, where our cavalry was, is where the rest of our cavalry is that we don't have control over. And they will advance to intercept the Prussians as their cavalry advances. But we're going to set up our cavalry in such a way that the Prussians really don't want any of it, because we're going to have our guns in front, and then we're even going to bring up some infantry to form squares in front of the guns. So there's really no way the Prussian cavalry can be a threat. All right, so now we have the Prussian infantry in line of sight, and as I said, they are stretched out pretty thin. They're not lined up in a mass formation. They're covering kind of a wide area with, not a lot of forces. And they're just wide out in the open there, and we're just going to start bombing away on them with our cannon here. And while we're behind the reverse slope of this hill here, so our infantry isn't going to be hit at all. And as I said, we're also going to bring these guns and just set up a nice little mass battery of artillery here. And I'm just going to set my infantry up in column by division, one brigade behind the other. And as I said, they're behind the slope. The Prussian cannon cannot see them. All they can see is the artillery on the top of the hill. And we have way more guns than they do. Way more. I think they have like 2 or 3 batteries. We're just bringing, we're wheeling up like 5 or 6 batteries. And over here, we're just waiting for Hulot to arrive in the town. And when he gets there, we're just going to send his 2 brigades, one each, to the areas where the objectives will appear at 10:30. And Pajol's division is coming up. That's our, we're using his division kind of as our reserve. And I'm just going to bring them, I'm going to take command of the supply wagons and bring them up because obviously with all these guns firing, you need to keep them supplied. So this is one of the divisional batteries, and I'm just kind of maneuvering them into a good spot. So you can see the Prussians have a little bit of cannon, but they're really far back, and their infantry is what's forward, so that's what we're going to bomb away on here. And I love this. I love setting up artillery like this and just being able to bomb away. This is just me being, you know how I am with my frickin' stupid lines. Always got to have the neat lines. So I didn't like that the two brigades were, you know, that close to each other. So of course I have to fix it. And there's Hulot's division moving into Limale here. And as I said, as soon as they get here and they come under our command, we're just going to send them to occupy the objectives. We will take their artillery, though. That will take. Can always use more guns. All right, so there's Van Dam. Now we've got him across the river, and now we can actually make him move to the area where the objective is going to appear. And we can hit use roads, and he will not come into... he'll move through our lines rather than the Prussian lines. And we can double quick him because if you're a horse with a general on it, you have no fatigue. Go figure. So yeah, now as you can see, he's moving through our lines. His path of road leads through our lines as opposed to the Prussian lines. So that's better. So there he is. He's following his little trail of yellow dots that are the roadway points. All right, and while our Grand Battery is softening up the Prussians, we're going to set up our cavalry line. You can see the Prussian cavalry moving out. And now I just want to make sure that our other cavalry division is moving forward, the ones we don't have control over. And there they go, right here. Yep. So they're moving forward to intercept the Prussian cavalry, and our cavalry is just here to guard our left flank. And we're going to bring our guns forward. So we've got two brigades. We're setting them up in double line, and we're bringing our guns forward to pound away on the Prussian cavalry as they come up. Meanwhile, our 1st Division has deployed. Their guns are moving into position, and I'm actually going to move them a little further forward, I think. I think this is a little far back. I want to be able to soften up the Prussian infantry around here, because this is our first objective right here that we're going to go for. So the first thing I want to do is start softening the 2 Prussian battalions here. I want to soften them up with artillery before we send a brigade in to take them out. And like I said, we have plenty of time to have some fun here. So here come our brigade commanders. They're lagging behind a little, but we can double quick them. And that Prussian cavalry is getting pretty close, so it might be worth it to double quick the artillery so we can get them set up. Yep, and we're going to double quick the guns to get them into position. Now this is a pretty evenly matched force here. The Prussians have 2 brigades and we have 2 brigades. So if they want to come forward, it would be a good fight. But they think better of it because their their other division gets attacked by our other division, and that kind of halts them from trying to push against us. But we do get to bomb away on them with our artillery, and that's always fun. So our guns are unlimbering. I'm going to set the guns to all-out attack and just have them bomb away on the Prussian cavalry. Yeah. Now the reason my brigade is moving off there on the left is I haven't set an attack stance, so they're just taking their own initiative. So now I've set them to hold, and hopefully they decide to stay put now. If you have officers on, I may have covered this in the Grog Toolbar series, but even if you have no attack stance, no orders, if the officers are under AI control, they can still act on their own initiative and kind of do what they want. So that's why I set them to a hold stance, so they don't go off and get themselves into trouble. So I think I'm going to take Pajol's artillery and wheel them up to the front as well, and get as many guns firing on the Prussian position as we can here. That looks good. So now we have a big gun line. It looks like we've got 6 batteries of artillery, I think. So that would be, what, 48 guns we have up on that hill? That's a lot of cannon. Hulot is filing into Limale, and right now the Prussians are kind of just engaging us in a stare down here. The difference is while we're engaging in a stare down, I have my horse artillery bombing away on them. So I think I'm going to get the better of the stare down. And there's the cavalry supply wagon. And we're going to bring them up by the guns so that they can keep the guns. And we're just standing here kind of daring the Prussians to come get some. You know, you're going to get pounded on by the artillery as you approach, and, you know, you're facing a force equal to your own in size. So come and get it. Alright, so Van Dam has arrived at the position where the objective will appear later on. And we're back here. I do a lot of maps. This is such a big area that a lot of times I bring up the mini-map just to move the camera over large distances. So, but there's 3 main areas of fighting right now. There's going to be the left flank here with the cavalry. As you can see, they're kind of moving off there. They're losing men from the artillery bombardment. And there's a nice big cavalry engagement going on between our troops and the other Prussian division here. I'm not sure. I don't really pay too much attention to it. I'm not sure who gets the better of it, but I think it's largely a stalemate. But my main goal here is not to get in a fight with the cavalry, although if they come forward, I would surely give them one. But really just to keep them from interfering with what I got going on the hill there. And my planned attack on the Prussian infantry. So look at all these guns. I love it. So the Prussian cavalry is kind of wandering around, kind of wondering what to do with itself. I guess they're debating whether they want to attack this rather large French cavalry contingent in front of them with artillery set up right in their face. So it looks like we got a routed squadron from our other cavalry division that is under our control, And it looks like Hulot has finished filing into Limale, and we now have command of him. So while our Grand Battery is softening up the Prussian lines, I think we will take the opportunity to send Hulot's 2 brigades to each of the positions they need to go to. So we'll send Toussaint's brigade down to the other objective. Unfortunately, I opened the wrong map. I opened the mini-map, not the command map. So when I click this, I think it's just going to move the camera. Yeah, wrong map, Rob. Yeah, I still haven't realized I clicked the wrong map. Oh, now I realize I clicked the wrong map. How did I get over here? Where the hell am I? Yeah, okay. Let's go back to Limale. Let's check on our cavalry first, make sure everything's kosher. Yep, they're still just standing there. Alright, let's see that again. This time, Rob, open the command map, not the mini-map. See, even I get discombobulated now and again. Okay. So we want to take Toussaint's brigade. Now I open the command map. And again, I send them down here. I think this is where the objective appears. It's not. It's the crossroads above that. So just remember when you guys do this and move Toussaint's brigade or whichever brigade you choose to send to that objective, that it's not the crossroads in the woods there on the south. It's the one above it in the opening. It's kind of like right up here, I think, up on the top of this hill by this house. And then Baum's brigade, we're going to just get them across the river, because as I said, if we try to march them to the other objective, which is where we sent Van Dam before, and they're on this side of the river, they'll try and walk through the Prussian lines just like Van Dam did. So first we have to get them back across the river, and then we'll send them to the objective. So we are just bombing away on the Prussian cavalry here. You can see their dead horses, and I think they've decided to pull back. And the spirited cavalry engagement between the Prussians and our other cavalry division is still going on. But as I said, I don't pay too much attention to it, because it's that French cavalry division is AI controlled, and I'm just not so concerned with what happens to them. But as I said, I think it was a stalemate pretty much. And I really want to make sure this cavalry is really moving off before I commit to making my attack on the Prussian infantry. And I'm going to take Hulot's artillery, because there's no reason to send his artillery to objective. We can use his guns, so I'm only sending his infantry to the two objective areas. But his cannon and his supply wagon, we'll keep those here. We can use those here. And I'm going to take the division commander, Hulot, and also send him to this crossroads here. But as I said, this is the wrong crossroads. Again, I hadn't played the scenario in a little while, so I knew the general idea, but it's actually up here. This is where the objective is going to appear. So yeah, I knew the objective appeared at that road somewhere or another, but I just got the objectives mixed up. That's all, or the locations mixed up. But when that happens, you guys will see. All right, so look at all these guns. So 30 points already on that battery, 66 on that battery. I'm just seeing how they're all doing. 61, 92. So we're racking up points here. We're dropping Prussians. And yeah, like I said, I just want to, before I commit to moving the infantry forward and really paying attention to what's going on over here, I just really want to make sure that Prussian cavalry is moving off, and I think they are. So we're going to take Le Capitain's brigade and move them forward in column by division. And like I said, there's only 2 battalions here, and here's the objective, the first objective. So we're going to send 5 battalions, a whole brigade forward, and just, you know, really just knock them out of the park, get them out of here. As I said, one of my favorite strategies is concentrating, when on the attack, is to concentrate a larger force against a smaller force, so that I can more easily move them off their position. You know, so there's only 2 Prussian battalions over there, so I'm going to take a 5 battalion brigade and just overwhelm them with sheer numbers and get them out of there. And what we'll do is we'll bring Pajol up in his whole division up in column now, to kind of take up his spot. So as you can see, the Prussian cavalry has backed off. They're not interested in engaging us, but we're going to keep our cannon trained at them. All right, so Hulot's division is now under our command. Obviously, that message is delayed because of how far away we moved Van Dam. He's now over. He's not here anymore. He's back by that by Wavre, where that other objective is going to appear later on. So we're just getting that message now that Hulot is released to us. But as soon as you don't need to wait for that message. As soon as you see his division move into Limale and kind of set up shop there, they're available to you kind of right away. Look at this big battery. This is my idea of fun. This is what I love to do. I definitely would have been an artilleryman 200 years ago. That would have been what I wanted to do. Sign me up for the guns. And just anytime I see a supply wagon, because we got so many guns to feed here that I want to kind of get all the supply wagons I can up here to keep the caissons filled. Because even though artillery batteries carry a lot more shot ammunition than they do canister, we're just letting it rip here. We're going to burn through that too, because we got basically all our guns set up in a nice row here, just blasting away. And believe me, they're doing decent damage. You can see there's definitely bodies on the ground within the Prussian ranks. You can see bodies lying in there. We're definitely bombing away on them. And look at that. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Look at all those guns just set up on that hill, bombing away. So the Prussian cavalry has backed off. I don't really consider them much of a threat anymore. In fact, because I know that the Prussians have a couple of little cavalry squadrons within their ranks, kind of, with the infantry up here, I'm going to detach one of my cavalry brigades from Marin's division and bring them over to support the infantry. And I'm going to deploy my remaining brigade in full line to take up the same front in full battle line instead of double line. And then to compensate for the fact that we're taking a whole cavalry brigade away, I'm going to bring Teste's smaller brigade, the one with only 2 battalions, and I will set them up in squares forward of all the guns to really discourage this Prussian cavalry from getting any ideas. And I'm also moving a second battery into position. This was Hulot's 8-gun battery that he doesn't need, because he's simply going to be an objective holder for this whole scenario when those objectives appear. And okay, we're going to take our remaining brigade, Baum's brigade, I believe, of Hulot's division. Yep, Baum, and we're going to send him to the other crossroads where the other objective will appear, which is over by where we sent our corps commander. And we will also have them use roads. Yeah, don't double click them. that would wear them. That would tucker them out pretty badly. But now we have plenty of time. As I said, it's 9 o'clock now. Those objectives don't even appear for another hour and a half. So let's start kicking some Prussian tail. Here we go. And you know what I do. Give them the cold steel, get them out of there. And then once we wipe these 2 battalions out and send them packing, we will move over to this objective here with our brigade and start occupying this objective. And at that point, we'll start slinking more of our forces out on the left here so we can attack them in their flank while our artillery is bombing away on them from the top of the hill. So keep running, fellas. Alrighty, and I'm not really interested in chasing after them. I just wanted to move them out of the way so that we can get to the objective. We didn't score a whole heck of a lot of points on that. We ran them off it was a pretty even fight, but we ran them off pretty quickly. But we're not interested in points really from combat so much as we are just getting to the objective. Most of our casualties are going to come later on, and plus whatever we're getting from the massed battery fire, which is considerable. It builds up over time. So I'm bringing another brigade. I'm just slinking my forces out onto the Prussian left here. And again, I'm just every once in a while I'm going back here just to make sure that the Prussian cavalry is not interested in engaging us. There's one little squadron sitting here, but you know we're bombing away on them. They're gonna run out. They're gonna run off sooner or later. Alrighty, so the first attack is out of the way. As I said, that wasn't too crazy. There was only 2 battalions. I sent a whole brigade to get them, and we now have the first objective. As I said, the Prussians are stretched pretty thin here, and we do not need to take their whole thin line. You know, just a couple of sections of it, just to get you know, 2 objectives is fine. And it looks like the cavalry battle has petered out here. It looks like the Prussians have actually pushed forward pretty far. It looks like the Prussians got the better of that. So yeah, that was a lot of horses on the field there. So yeah, look at this. Prussians, it looks like they definitely got the better of that, huh? It looks like they really pushed a lot of the French back. But there's our lone cavalry brigade. But you know, they're in a pretty good spot. They've got a lot of artillery supporting them, and like I said, I think I'm going to take Teste's brigade here, or Ricard's brigade from Teste division, and just to make sure the cavalry really isn't going to be a threat, I'm going to move them over there, and later on I will set them up in square ahead of the artillery positions, just to make sure the cavalry is really on unequal terms with us if they decide to try and mess with us, and I'll set them on hold. Like I said, I'm not interested in fighting the Prussian cavalry, just holding them at bay. I'm more interested in attacking their infantry on this side of things. Alright, so we got our first objective. 50 points a minute. So that would work out to 3,000 points an hour. And if we get another one, that would be 6,000 points an hour, plus whatever casualties we inflict, plus whatever we're getting from the Grand Battery on the hill. You know, we're probably going to get around 7,000 to 8,000 points. Which is fine, because the other 30,000 points we're going to get from those 2 objectives at 10:30 when they appear. And that's really the trick to winning the scenario. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone, you know, if you guys remember that show from the 60s, you know, it always had a twist at the end, you know, where the whole episode ended up, you know, like not being what you thought it was. That's kind of what this scenario is. This is the Twilight Zone scenario. You think the whole scenario is about capturing a whole bunch of these little objectives, and really, right at the end of the scenario there at 10:30, all these objectives disappear, and you're just like, what happened? And the 2 real objectives pop up. You know, so what you want to do is just use Hulot's division and send. He's got 2 brigades. Send 1 brigade to one spot where the objective will appear, and the other brigade to the other spot where the objectives disappear. And they're right there, ready to start occupying them as soon as they appear. And the point totals that we need to get over the first 2 hours of the scenario then don't look quite so intimidating. We don't need 35,000 points. We only need to get like 5,000 points. And over 2 hours, that's not hard to do. And I'm slowly going to start swinging our line kind of outward, kind of to sort of link up with the forces I'm sending over here. But also to bring our guns closer and just put more of a hurting on the Prussians. Because these guns here, they're not really on a hill, so their position isn't as critical, so I can start swinging some of these forces kind of this way and kind of start to begin to link the position on the hill here with the forces I'm deploying over here. This one is occupying the objective, and then I'm linking this one up on the left side, and I'm also going to bring that cavalry brigade and link them up on the left side. Just sort of start kind of linking everything together, and then we'll begin to push forward. Like I said, there's not too much here. It's stretched very thin. They do have some cavalry back here, but they're only little squadrons, and we're bringing up a whole cavalry brigade. And right now we're just hanging out at the objective and building some points. And while this little deployment thing is going on, I'm going to take a quick run to the fridge. I will be right back, fellas. Alrighty, fellas, I'm back. So we've got 2 batteries set up now on our little cavalry flank defense position here, and I'm moving some infantry in behind them. Just so that we have more than enough forces capable of dealing with any Prussian thrust from that side of things. So, like I said, I'm swinging my forces forward a little bit to kind of start to link up the 2 positions I've got going on now, and we're slowly going to start wrapping up the end of the Prussian line here. And I'm bringing all these forces out over here just in preparation to start moving against the Prussian left and pushing them off their position so we can get the next objective. And I won't go much further than that. Like I said, two of these 50-point objectives is plenty. Because even though that's over only 100 points a minute, you got to think about the amount of time we're going to be holding them for. This isn't a 30-minute scenario or an hour scenario. It's a 2.5-hour scenario. So we really have a lot of time. So here comes the cavalry brigade, and I'm not even going to launch another attack until I get them into position, because I want them to deal with the Prussian squadrons that are over there, as well as capture the cannons. I don't necessarily care about... I don't want to weaken my infantry by crewing the guns, really. I have more than enough artillery as it is. So we've got 1,000 points already, and we really haven't done much. We've taken 35 casualties, and we've inflicted 756, and pretty much all of that is artillery fire. All of those casualties are artillery fire, because that one assault we made, those Prussian battalions routed pretty quickly. you know, so there wasn't a lot inflicted there. So that's the power of that kind of massed battery up on the hill there. They've inflicted a lot of casualties so far, as well as these two batteries. So being that there's only Prussian cavalry on this side of the field, there's really no point in keeping my infantry in line behind the cavalry. We might as well just stick them out in square there, so it's a real obstacle if the Prussians decide to come forward. That's what we're going to do. Sort of a rudimentary fortress against cavalry here. Alright, so slowly but surely, we're getting ourselves linked up here. Got about 500 points from this objective so far. And we're just letting our guns do their thing from up top on the hill here. And with one brigade gone, because we sent the other brigade over to the cavalry side of things, so we can spread these guys out now and deploy them in line. And they're really just there to support the guns if the Prussians decide to try and make a move on them. So it looks like the Prussian cavalry is pulling back, and what's left of that other French division is moving out now. And just keep the supply wagons moving back and forth. And I'm just doing this to keep myself busy and keep the guns on topped off with ammo while I wait for the cavalry to move into position. Now, if you're wondering how Teste gained 54 points, even though his brigade hasn't or his division hasn't been engaged, that's because we have his divisional artillery out there firing, and they've inflicted, 55 casualties, so he gets those points. So there's our cavalry brigade, Valen. Like I said, I've detached him from Morin's division, so he's on his own independent command. And I just took command of all the units there, so they moved to the position I assigned them without getting distracted. So we sent our squares out front. We really present a threat to this cavalry now, and I don't think they're going to dare challenge us. Except for this one brave squadron that's still standing here getting bombed on by our guns. I'm just making sure that all my my two brigades from Hulot's division are moving towards their positions for when the objectives appear at 10:30. And we'll go back to keeping our guns stocked with ammo. And again, I'm taking my time here. I'm setting up my attack exactly the way I want it to be because, well, frankly, I have the time to do it. 2 hours is a long time, and I'm in no rush. You know, my artillery is bombing away, and look at this. Look at all these men we've killed just with the guns. Look at this. Bodies all over the place. I mean, we have really taken a good chunk out of these Prussian battalions just with our artillery. You know, and they're actually backing off now. They've taken such a beating that they're trying to get away from it. You know, they're retreating. You know, that's just a lot of guns pounding on you. You know, Napoleon loved the cannon, and so do I. That's a really great hill. It's a nice high position to see the whole Prussian area. It's like it's like it was put there for us. So the Prussian line is kind of pulling back, and it is shifting some of its forces over here, because I think it senses that an attack is definitely coming from this direction. And they would be right. It is. And initially I'm going to send a whole brigade and the cavalry brigade forward. And like I said, I'm just waiting for the cavalry to file in position. In the meantime, we're just soaking up some points here. Now, some of these Prussian lines have turned the other way now to face us over, you know, they've turned this way. But now that means they're getting it even worse from the artillery on the hill because they're firing into their flank. These are the 3rd Corps forces. They just kind of sit there the whole battle. So we have almost 2,000 points. Like I said, the points will come. You know, they'll just slowly start to work their way up there. You know, we really haven't done too much yet. You know, we're just soaking up the objective and, you know, whatever points we're getting from the objectives. So you can see the Prussians are now shifting most of their forces over to their left because that's kind of where we're focusing our attention. And their cavalry is starting to back off. But like I said, I'm not interested in capturing the whole Prussian line. You know, I just want to get one more objective, and I'll be happy with that. And you can tell I'm in no hurry to get it. So clearly this is just boredom here. I'm moving there's 4 batteries up on the hill, and I have 4 battalions. So I'm moving 1 battalion behind each battery. And like I said, I'm really just waiting for this rest of this cavalry to file into position here, so I can send this brigade and this cavalry brigade forward and start pushing for that next objective. And you can see the Prussians have some artillery up here. They have 3 lines back here, or 3 battalions back here, 1 right here, and they have 2 little cavalry squadrons who, I must admit, do a pretty good job of trying to foil my my plans here. They fought bravely. There's just not enough of them. They're too small. But they did their best to kind of slow me up and get me tied up around these 2 groups of houses here. But eventually I break through and take these guns, and we'll start pushing forward towards that other objective. Alright, so we're going to start moving the cavalry forward. And we're going to start moving our infantry brigade under Teste and move him towards this line. So now this one little battalion has a whole cavalry brigade and a whole infantry brigade moving towards them. Would you stand there? And we will leave Le Capitain's brigade over there to occupy the objective. So yeah, a lot of cavalry, a lot of infantry moving towards this one line that's holding the extreme left of the Prussian position here. And we're getting close to musket range. At that point, we'll double quick Teste's brigade. Forward, Ben. Destiny awaits you. They didn't want any of that, and I can't say I blame them. I mean, look at the men they lost just from being bombarded on by the artillery. I mean, that's at least a quarter of their battalion. You know, you can see Prussian bodies everywhere where these battalions were initially deployed. You know, so that shows you what a massed battery, even not in canister range, just, you know, over time, the kind of damage a massed battery at mid-range can inflict. You know, it's definitely decent. Alrighty, so I'm going to move Teste's brigade up and kind of put them in square to kind of block this, try and block some of this cavalry, while my cavalry moves in and tries to take the guns. So Teste is kind of, I'm deploying him in a staggered square formation, kind of to try and act as a barrier against that cavalry. So my cavalry can move in and take the cannon. And then once we do that, these units, we can force them into square, and we can bring our infantry forward to, you know, kind of break them up. So we're in a good position to block this squadron. This squadron, however, has moved out onto the right, so we're probably going to have to hit them. So let's go. Cavalry charge time. And here we go. Go get them, boys. So we're kind of running headlong into these guys. Let's see if we can turn them back. So we're locked in mortal combat over here with this one Prussian squadron. We've turned back this squadron. And let's continue moving the rest of the cavalry brigade forward so we can take these guns as quickly as possible. And now we've got another squadron moving in on this, so we're going to have 3 on 1. I mean, these guys are doing a good job of trying to stand up to us. But now it's 3 squadrons. Come on, guys. Be realistic. And here comes the other Prussian squadron now. And another cavalry melee. And you see these Prussians, man. Good squadron. Good, you know, they made one of our units fall back. Now they got to deal with another one here. These guys are champions. I have respect for these guys. They definitely did their best to thwart my attempts here. You know, unfortunately, you know, they're up against an entire brigade. As good as they are, as good as they're doing, you know, it's so they did force back 2 squadrons, but you know, I got more coming up. Here they're getting hit by another one, and now they've had enough. I mean, they put up a good fight, I gotta say. But slowly but surely, we've cleared the cavalry out. And what we got to do now is get some of these guns. So we'll start now that the cavalry has been cleared out. We can start bringing the infantry up. You can see some of these Prussian squares are running off because all the while they're sitting there, they're getting bombed on by the Grand Battery up on the hill. You know, that massed battery really did a great job of softening these Prussian battalions up. You know, they're all just taking off. So we can start moving Desprez's brigade forward now, and we're pushing for this objective right here, right by these houses. That's what we're pushing for. So we've routed 3 Prussian battalions here. They got 2 more in reserve, and they still have 1 cavalry squadron hanging on. But now we're trying to clear some of these guns out. So we've taken some of them. There's still a couple here, but we'll start moving the infantry forward, and we will regroup our cavalry and take the rest of these guns. So let's get our cavalry in order here. And we will set them up over here to get them ready to make a run on the guns, and also force these units into square. So 3 battalions, most of that Prussian line has now routed, and we can start to get a foothold on this position. We're going to bring some cannon up to help get us our foothold here. Now, there's still a few Prussian guns here and there, and we're going to have to get them. But our cavalry is collecting itself and getting ready to come up and take the rest of these cannon. Keep going, boys. Get those guns. They're a little winded. I don't know if they're going to be able to take both of them. Go for it, boys. Get those cannon. There's one. So if we can get Desprez's brigade into position here, we can start shooting at some of those cannon and actually killing the artillerymen, which can get the guns to rout. All the while, we're just bombing away on these infantry battalions out here and that cavalry squadron there. And just a quick double check to make sure nothing's going on over here. And I'm just moving the infantry up just in case, now that the Prussians are a little closer, just in case they decide to make a move towards this gun line. I want to make sure I have infantry set up behind each battery to protect them. Alright, we need to bring some cannon forward to really solidify this. So we're shooting at the artillerymen now. We are close enough to take some canister fire, but I'm bringing the cavalry up so we can overrun these guns here and get them out of there. Prussians will form square, but that's fine. I'm not going for them. I want the guns. You know, so the guns can't do that. Come on, boys. Take those guns. Ah, they're too tired. Alright, let's try this battalion, or this squadron. So another square is running off, and again, you got to remember that these guys have been pounded on by the massed battery, so they're already, you know, taking a beating. So it doesn't take much to get them to run at this point, and that's one of the reasons I set up that massed battery, so that we could really soften these, soften the Prussians up here, so that it wouldn't take, you know, just a, you know, nothing but a slight shove to get them to fall over. And there they go, breaking and running. Now that their guns are gone, we've really cracked this left part of the Prussian line open. And now we can start to bring some cannon up. And I'm not quite sure where I want to place them at the moment, but I just kind of want to get them up here, and then we'll figure that out afterwards. I'm going to move Desprez's brigade forward a little bit. And we're slowly getting ready to push towards that objective. And I'm going to bring some more guns forward on the left side here and start bringing the rest of my line forward here. So we've still got Pajol's division over here in reserve. They haven't been engaged at all. 2 big brigades. And we'll start bringing them up to solidify our left. And then we'll begin to, we'll move forward and occupy that that second objective, and that's really all we need to do. 2 objectives is fine. We're going to gain more than enough points. Like I said, we only need to get over, you know, 5,000–6,000 points, and that's plenty. The other 30,000 points we're going to get from those 2 objectives that appear at 10:30. You know, there's a sizable Prussian force out there, but like I said, I'm not really interested in engaging them. I just want this second objective, And around like 10 o'clock or so, or I don't know, 15 minutes from now, I forget how long, but the Prussians will begin a general retreat anyway. And they're scripted to do that. All right, so Baum's brigade has arrived at the objective, and we'll now set him up in a formation that doesn't look like crap, like that one does. And again, the objective hasn't appeared yet. It will at 10:30, and I just want his brigade in position to immediately begin occupying it. And we'll put them in the old column by division. And both of these objectives that are going to appear are you need 500 men within a 200-yard radius and an officer, obviously, to occupy them. So a brigade on each one is more than enough. And again, this is the wrong crossroads. It's further north towards Limale, and I just hadn't played the scenario in a while, and I forgot exactly where the objective appears. So I first set this brigade up on the wrong crossroads, and then once the objective appears, and I realize, oops, wrong spot, I have them double timed to the objective, which takes about 3 minutes, which is 1,500 points. Because I didn't start out with them occupied, but no matter. It was okay. I still cleared it, and you guys will know not to make that mistake. But yeah, it's this right here. This is where the objective really appears. So yeah, I'm not too far off, and I'll just have them double time up the road to get there as quick as possible. But yeah, here is where that objective appears, not here. This crossroads, not this one. So I goofed there. All right, so I'm going to start moving Desprez's brigade towards the objective. Just like I said, 200-yard radius on these objectives, so it shouldn't be too hard to get close enough to it. There isn't a Prussian gun battery over here, but they're not pointed at us right now. They're trying to tangle with the mass battery on the hill. Trying to find a spot for the officer to go to. So he has the objective now. We've got another battery moving into position here. So now we're almost setting up an artillery crossfire at this point. We're firing into the Prussians from the front and the side. So now we have two 50-point per minute objectives, so that's 100 points a minute. And our cavalry is pretty rested up here. Let's start bringing them forward soon. And I'm bringing up two batteries here to help solidify this position. And we'll begin moving the cavalry forward. So all they've got is a squadron here, and we've got a whole cavalry brigade, so we're definitely setting up shop. They do have some more cavalry back here, but I'm not really worried about them because they're really far back. And I'm not really trying to push that too far forward. I have the objective. I just want to solidify it now. Sort of solidify my hold on it. And I'm just moving Pajol's division up a little bit closer. They're still basically acting as the reserve. Alright, so that gun placement isn't so hot, so we're going to move them a little further forward. And we will move our cavalry further forward to discourage the lone Prussian cavalry squadron there from trying to make any move on the guns. But they've been hit a lot already. Yeah, these supply wagons are all on take charge, so I have to move them up manually because I always like to move them behind the artillery batteries manually, so they just end up sitting there until I actually click them forward. I see a little courier here. I'm not sure if he's for us or if he's a Prussian courier that's going to get himself killed if he comes near us. You know what? That is a courier telling us that Exelmans cavalry corps has arrived, and now they are going to hit the Prussian cavalry on our left now. So the cavalry is trying to move forward, but no, we're not going to have any of that. First, you're going to eat some canister. And now you're going to have to tangle with, we're going to send our cavalry forward. And I think they're just going to run off. I don't think they even want to engage us. Nope, they're gone. Sayonara, fellas. And I'm not interested in pursuing them. I just wanted to keep them from, trying to get at our guns. And they're eating some canister fire on the way out. Thank you for coming. See you next time. Oh, look at this. Let's see if we can get some Prussian cannon. These guys are pretty fresh, this squadron. They had a chance to rest up. So head for those guns. And I'm just going right up to the guns before I hit charge, so there's no chance that they'll go charge some other unit. I want them to take these guns. Get them, boys. Get those cannon. Oh, we killed the officer too. Nice. So we're taking all these guns, and we're retreating now. We missed one. Oh well. That's all right. We took a lot of guns, and as soon as they rest up a little bit, we'll send them back to get the last one. So we have this objective pretty securely now. We've swung a lot of our forces now out in front to secure this position. And like I said, we have the Prussians caught in a cannon crossfire. We're firing at them from the front and from the mass battery on the top of the hill. So even just sitting here, we are pounding the bejesus out of these guys. And I don't know what you think skirmishers are going to do with all this cavalry nearby. So, taking another crack at this last battery here. Didn't take long for the squadron to recover its morale. And let's see if we can get this last one. What do you guys think you're going to do? Skirmishers? Get out of here. Cavalry gobbles skirmishers. Yeah, get the hell out of here. I will eat you guys. So we caught a supply wagon. Yep, General Exelmans' corps has arrived on the field and is going to move towards the enemy. So we really don't have to pay attention to that whole cavalry situation on our left now, because we have Exelmans' whole corps that has moved into position, and they will tangle with whatever's left of the Prussians. And I'm going to pop off some skirmishers to screen the guns, just in case. And we still got a lot of these Prussian units in square, and you know, artillery really raped squares. So this is good stuff. And like I said, cannon crossfire. I mean, these guys right here, these guys are going to catch it really bad, because they're taking it from this battery, and they're taking it from this whole mass battery up on the hill here. So, you know, this is not a good situation for the Prussians, and shortly they will begin to withdraw. And I'm going to have Pajol move over to the objective so that he can take up the points for it, which will kind of free Desprez up a little bit. So now Pajol has occupied the objective. And we've got 3,000 points. We've got almost 5,000 points for Van Dam now, and we still have, 40 minutes before those objectives disappear. So plenty of time to rack up some more points. And like I said, this is not where the second objective appears. It's here. So don't move your brigade all the way down there like I did. That was just me forgetting where the second objective appeared. Again, I had long ago cracked this scenario, and you know, after that I just hadn't played it in a while. So, you know, even though I knew that 2 more objectives appear and that those are the real money objectives, I just kind of forgot the exact location of where that second one appears. You know, I thought it was here, but it's really here. So just make sure you only move to that area. Let's see. Well, the Prussians are almost completely gone. And our Grand Battery is continuing to pound the way. I better move the supply wagons around, because I haven't been doing that, because I've been concentrating on the other side of things. And that lone officer over here is Gruchy. Nope, another supply wagon. And we will just, we could use some more supply wagons, so we'll bring them up to the Grand Battery on the hill here, who I think at this point only has 1 supply wagon, because I sent all the other ones with the divisional artillery on the right. So I have plenty of supply wagons for these batteries over here, but I've kind of stripped some of them off away from the Grand Battery. So the Prussians have moved forward a little bit. Brave souls, but you're going to get blasted with canister, guys. That's kind of not the way to do it. And we'll send some cavalry out, and that threat alone will probably make them run. They look like they're ready to go already. There they go. Sayonara, fellas. And I will move an infantry line up, and we'll start shooting at them. Look at these Prussians. They're trying to get gutsy, but you know, at any time we can force these guys into square. We have a cavalry squadron right here. So if you guys want to come forward, I'll happily force you into square and bomb the bejesus out of you. You know, and you know. So these guys are going to have to form square because I'm sending the cavalry closer. And here they go, forming square. And, I mean, at this range, canister range and square, please. Here these guys go forming square. I mean, this is combined arms 101. You know, with one cavalry squad, two cavalry squadrons, you know, we force these units into square. We have units in line formation that are going to shoot at them. And we have artillery blasting away at them with, you know, at close range. I mean, this is combined arms BS right here. And, you know, the Prussians' cavalry is just sitting back here. You know, I mean, well, I knew they wouldn't stand for long. Who's going to stand for long under that? You know, that's crazy. So now that we have this cavalry squadron close enough to form this unit into square, we're going to move this unit into line right in front of them and pound away on them. And like I said, this is combined arms right here. We're going to be bringing 100% of our firepower against the square, while they can only hit us with one side of it. And that's what it's all about. You know, and all of these units have been taking the bombardment from the battery, all the batteries back on the hill there since, you know, 8:45. When did we get, you know, pretty much right after the scenario started. So they've been taking a beating, and so they're very shaky to begin with. You know, it's not going to take much to get these guys to run off. And bring the supply wagon forward. Not to mention, all the while, this cannon crossfire is still going on these guys. When they withdraw, I really want to see how many men are left on the ground over here. You can just see the damage the mass battery did from the way the Prussians were initially deployed facing the other way. And you can see where the battalions were deployed because you see the bodies everywhere. So what I'm going to do is move this assault column behind this line and split off some skirmishers to shoot at these guys while I turn this line to face the square. So now we're going to have two lines shooting the square up. Oh, by the way, did I mention this line is screening the cavalry? So the cavalry is close enough to force the Prussian unit into square, but they're behind my line infantry, so they're screened. Good stuff. So these guys are up by 47 points already. That's the difference between having line infantry and shooting into a square. So like I said, I'm going to have some skirmishers come up and tangle with these guys so I can turn this unit and have them face the square and really shoot the square to pieces. And we'll bring another skirmisher unit up, and we'll bring the cavalry up to force them into square. And we didn't even get to that point. They just decided to take off. Like I said, these units have been getting pounded on by the mass battery the whole morning now, and they're very shaky. You know, it doesn't take much to push them over the edge. You know, it's still going on. You know, all these guns are still back up on the hill, still pounding away on these guys. Look at it. Look at all this. Ridiculous. So now we've got two line units shooting the hell out of the square right here. Can't imagine they're going to hang for long. So 6,000 points. We are just fine. You can see the Prussian cavalry area they've really fallen back. They were out here at one point, and now they've been pushed back here by Exelmans Corps. So we're up by almost 70 points on this battalion now, and yeah, I am not surprised in the slightest that they weren't going to sit there and take that. So we're going to start slowly advancing. Now that we've secured this area up here, we can start bringing the guns even further forward and really increase this artillery crossfire. But with the collapse of all these units now, I gotta believe that pretty soon these Prussians are going to begin to move off. I just don't know how much longer they can stand here taking this constant bombardment. You know, and now they're almost encircled at this point. You know, they're outflanked. They're encircled, they've got cavalry on their flank, and they're being bombed on by this battery still up on the hill, so their position is becoming more and more untenable. And even though I'm not trying to push forward that hard, I'm happy with what I got. You know, in that instance, they kind of like gave me a reason to, you know, by coming forward themselves. You know, so it's like I've almost got them surrounded at this point. And I'm slowly tightening the noose a little further all the time. You know, these guns over here have kind of fallen silent a little bit, so I'm thinking maybe they're out of ammo, and I got to do a little supply wagon run here. So yeah, we have really pushed far forward here. And as soon as these guns get back into position, or move forward here and set up, we'll be able to really start pounding them with this artillery crossfire. And these units are all pretty shaky here. They don't have much left in the way of cannon. There's like one gun over here. And like I said, all these units have been getting bombed on the whole morning. They've got some more cavalry up, but I doubt it's equal to our cavalry. You know, and even so, even if you force us in a square, how are you going to play combined arms BS with us when you don't have any cannon? We've taken them all. So I think at 10 o'clock here, is when von Thielmann, who is the Prussian corps commander, actually receives his word. He receives word that they won at Waterloo, and I think that's when he begins withdrawing here. So let's see in a few seconds here if these units begin to move off. So, okay, 10 a.m. Of course, I swung the camera away from them at that point, but I think that is when the Prussian commander received word that they had won at Waterloo, and so he begins to withdraw from this position. Yep, I can see on the map that they're starting to back off here. You can see them all moving off. So yeah, at 10, this is scripted. They're withdrawing because, like I said, their commander von Thielmann just received word that the Allies were victorious at Waterloo, and so he begins pulling his forces back now. And a half hour from now, we'll receive word that we lost at Waterloo. So the Prussians are pulling back from this fight now. Basically, they're pulling back towards Brussels. They know they won at Waterloo, so they're going to wait for the rest of their army to circle around and trap Grouchy. So at this point now, not too much is going to happen until 10:30. The Prussians are moving away, and we're not really interested in pursuing them because we don't need to. We already have enough points, so once those other objectives appear, we'll have enough for a major victory. So we're not really interested in pursuing them. We're still got another half hour to suck points from these objectives. So we're happy to just let them go. So there's going to be quite a bit of a lull until 10:30 when things start, when Grouchy receives word that Napoleon was routed at Waterloo. Now I've detached most of Le Capitaine's brigade, or I'm sorry, I detached one battalion to just stay there and occupy the objective, and I'm moving the rest of his brigade forward. And our guns will continue firing at them as long as they're in range, but like I said, there's a pretty big lull now for the next half hour or so, where not much is going to be going on. We're basically just going to be sitting here occupying these objectives and gathering up as many points as we can. So, okay, with that, I am going to take a brief break here and hit the bathroom. I've been sitting here for a while now, and I'll be right back. If you guys want, you can, when this video gets to YouTube, you guys can just skip to, you can see the time right here. It's 10:03. Skip to 10:30. That's when all these objectives disappear and the two new ones reappear on the, on those 2 points we talked about, and that's when the last half of the scenario really gets going. From 10 to 10:30 here, there's not going to be much going on. Like I said, the Prussians are pretty much in full retreat, and we're not really that interested in pursuing them. I'm just going to start swinging my line to face generally northwards, and that's about it. Other than that, there's not much going on. So, like I said, feel free to skip ahead 10:30 to 10:30 game time in the video, and that's where important stuff starts happening again. But right now, this is going to be a pretty big lull. So I'll be right back, fellas. Alrighty, guys, I am back, and the Prussian exodus continues here as they're retreating on Brussels, and there's another easy objective right off in the woods here, and I'm just going to send the cavalry to go take hold of that objective for now. So now we'll be getting 150 points a minute since we have 3 objectives. And the guns are still firing, but the Prussians are really moving out of range. So it's not going to be too much more action. And even at 10:30, it's not really much is going to change, except these objectives are all going to disappear, and we're going to be getting objectives from the other, getting points from the other objectives. The Prussians do eventually turn around and try to come forward, but it's at the very end of the scenario. The idea behind that is that, according to your orders, you're supposed to disengage your forces and head for the 2 objectives that are going to appear. But since we already knew those objectives were going to appear, because I've played the scenario before, we already have those objectives covered with a brigade each. So there's no reason for us to disengage our forces. We can just stay here. And the Prussians come a little too late, and we stall them with our cavalry, because once this objective disappears and there's no reason for our cavalry to be standing here anymore, we'll send them forward to scout ahead for the Prussians. And as they lead with their cavalry, we will get in a little cavalry melee and send them packing. And that will kind of stall the Prussian advance until the end of the scenario. So, yeah, like I said, we have plenty of forces. Rome's brigade here wasn't engaged at all. Teste's entire division really wasn't engaged at all. Really, we used pretty much just Vichery's division, because we really didn't go for that much of the Prussian line. We really just wanted to collapse the left and take those 2 objectives, and that was pretty easy. You know, we really softened their whole line up to a considerable amount with that masked battery on the hill. I mean, you can see just all the bodies on the ground. That isn't from us. That's from the masked battery on the hill. They did all that. So yeah, it is now really quieting down. There's like 1 Prussian gun over there somewhere, but the rest of the all the Prussian infantry and cavalry are retreating on Brussels at this point. There's not much to talk about here at this point. Like I said, this is the lull. We're just really sitting here soaking up points from these objectives. You can see now we've got another one in the woods here. So we'll be getting points for that. So we've got almost 8,000 points. You know, so we're probably going to finish with around 39,000 points. As I said, the second objective over in the woods there with that other brigade, I I didn't have the location quite right, so we miss a few hundred points, like 1,500 points actually. Uh, so that cost us a little bit, but because we've made so many points so far, we're well above 5,000 points. I think we finished with around 39,000 points, but it's very easy to get over, 40,000 points doing this. All you have to do is get the location correct here, and you'll get all the points. So the last of the Prussian infantry is moving out of view. Most of our cannon haven't even unlimbered because there's no longer anybody in range, really. So here is Le Capitain's brigade, less one battalion that is sitting back by the objective with Vichery, who are detached. And I'm just neatening up my lines. But as soon as the last of that Prussian infantry goes completely out of view, all our guns will fall silent, and the real lull will begin. As you can see, Exelmans' entire corps has gathered here. There's no Prussians anywhere really. There's a few back here, but they've pretty much completely disengaged from us at this point. So yeah, you do not need to go and try and capture all these objectives. We've got 8,200 points. And we're gonna get another 30,000 points from these two objectives at 10:30 once they appear. So you can see nobody in sight. The Prussians have pretty much completely disengaged from the fight. They've pulled out of Wavre, and they're making a beeline for Brussels at this point. And I'm just moving troops around, really for no reason. There's really nothing else to do at this point. I could have even just sped up time to 10:30 if I wanted to, but I've never done that in any of these videos, so I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to run them in real time, and if nothing's happening, nothing's happening. we are still sitting here soaking up 150 points a minute, you know. But yeah, largely what we're doing is we're just waiting for 10:30 to pop around, and Grouchy will get word that Napoleon has been defeated at Waterloo, which I think he was probably very shocked to hear. I'm not sure if Grouchy was aware how much of the Prussian army actually escaped Wavre and made it to Waterloo. I'm not sure if he ever really knew the true extent of the force in front of him, and that he was only dealing with the with von Thielmann's corps, and that the rest of the Prussians had moved west to Waterloo. You know, by the time Pajol had forced the crossing at Limale, I mean, it was evening. Waterloo was just about ending. The Prussians were already there. So Grouchy may not have even realized how much of the Prussian army actually made it away from Wavre. Because I know he was shocked when he heard that Napoleon lost at Waterloo. And but you know, to his credit, you know, even though he must have been in shock, he quickly realized the situation and quickly realized that he was in danger of being trapped, and he extricated his force from Wavre, and I believe it was the only force that actually returned to France intact. You know, so given how badly things had gone, I think Grouchy did an admirable job of actually saving his force and getting them out of the situation that they could have very easily fallen into and been trapped by the Prussian army. So Vichery's division alone almost has 5,000 points. Deprez hanging back there. You can move up with the rest of your brigade. So we've shifted our line now so that we're generally facing northwards now because the Prussians have withdrawn that way. So it just made sense to turn our whole line kind of facing that direction. So you can see we have just a massive number of force. We have Exelmans' entire cavalry corps out here. And that looks like all that's left of the Prussian cavalry is just a couple of squadrons, an officer, and some guns, and that's all they've got over there. So it looks like Exelmans' corps really handed them a beating. And it looks like the remnants of Pajol's other division. It looks like they've formed up and gotten healthy again. And here's our cavalry division. We got one brigade over there. And we detached our other brigade, and they're over here. They're the ones occupying that woods objective. So we have 9,000 points. So, like I said, you can really, and I did, you guys saw how much I really took my sweet time in this scenario, and still we racked up 9,000 points. So yeah, you really don't need to rush it. You got plenty of time. I really advise using that hill and taking your artillery reserve and setting that battery up because they really do a lot of damage to the Prussians. You know, in that first hour, while you're kind of just strolling into position, those guns are just bombing that Prussian infantry the entire time, and they really inflict considerable losses because they're not that far away, and they have a lot of time to do it. You know, we're not talking about 10 or 15 minutes. We're talking like, you know, over an hour of steady artillery bombardment from, you know, at what did I have up there? You know, 48 guns, you know, at least 6 batteries. You know, I had, you know, up on the hill and deployed in front of those divisions. Um, you know, so it's a considerable amount of artillery fire just raining down on the Prussians for a considerable amount of time. And it has a big impact. You know, once I did start attacking them, you can see that they tended to break and run pretty easily because they were already just busted up and shaken by just the constant bombardment. So it didn't take too much to get them to run. And you know, once you're sure the Prussian cavalry is not on the left where you set up your cavalry flank guard there, once you're sure they're not going to try and come forward and engage, it's worth it to detach one brigade and send them over to help over here on the right here because as you can see, we use them for cavalry charges. We use them to capture guns. We use them to force enemy infantry into square, so we can pound on them with artillery and pound on them with line infantry. And they really come in handy for using that to the old rock paper scissors combined arms BS game that I do love to play. So we're 10:21. We're about 9 minutes away from the objectives switching here. And here's Exelmans cavalry here. They're just kind of gathered up on our extreme left there. That's fine. I'm happy they're there. Certainly there's really nothing left of the Prussian cavalry over there. I would like to know who the hell are my guns firing at? I would think everybody's out of range at this point. So Vichy alone has over 5,000 points now. I mean, just that one objective alone would have done it. You know, we technically didn't even need to get the second objective. You can do it with just one. Yeah, face front, sir. We like our generals facing front. So this is the first, like I said, the objective appears right on this crossroads here. So we're in prime position to just start occupying it as soon as it appears, which will be about 7 minutes from now. And we have nearly 10,000 points. And we inflicted 2,000 casualties on the enemy while we've only taken almost 300. And most of those 2,000 casualties, honestly, were from that masked battery on the hill. I mean, they really pummeled that Prussian infantry, who are now almost completely, who are pretty much completely out of sight. So we got about 6 more minutes until these objectives disappear and the two new ones appear back behind us on the crossroads. But so yeah, just a lull here. We're just sitting here racking up these points from these objectives we've got. Nothing real exciting happening now. And even when the objectives flip, it's not like that really changes anything. We're just getting points from different sources instead of these objectives. But it isn't really that exciting. It's going to take the Prussians a long time to actually get themselves together and head back this way. And like I said, we're not going to move our forces at all because we already have those other objectives covered when they appear. So we can just sit here and be ready to greet them if they get close enough. So 10,000 points. And if I had had that other brigade in the right position, which I didn't, I had, the wrong crossroads, as I said before, but if I had had them in the right position, we would have cleared 40,000 points. No problem. But since I didn't, I missed out on about 1,500 points in the 3 minutes it took me to move them up to the other crossroads where the objective is. So I think we clear about 39,000 points. And all you need for a major victory is 35,000 points. So assuming you put both brigades in the right position, unlike I did, you literally only need to get 5,000 points during the battle to actually get a major victory. So even though that score you need for a major victory when you first launch the scenario looks pretty intimidating, that's actually not the case. It's very easy to get that score. And we've got 10,200 points. And about 3.5 minutes until these objectives drop off. There's the town of Wavre. And I reattached that cavalry squadron. I had detached them from the brigade, but I just wanted to command them independently while they were over here forcing units into square, but now there's no reason to keep them detached. God knows what these guns are firing at. They must be able to see something I can't. And look at these guys. They're moving into position to shoot at something. Maybe it's this gun back here. There is a Prussian cannon back there, one gun. Maybe that's what they're shooting at. Yeah, there is one little Prussian cannon. That must be what they're all shooting at. And even these guys are unlimbering now. So that Prussian gun must have just moved into a position where all these cannon can see them now. That must be it. Yeah, I can see them. But there's certainly nothing else around. But oh well, if they're going to start shooting, let's top their ammo off with the supply wagon. And here's Grouchy. He's made his way up from Limale. So we have 10,650 points. And about 30 seconds until these objectives drop off. And Van Dam, who is on one of the objectives, will immediately get his timer going from when the new objective appears. So yeah, here we go. Watch all these objectives here. You will see in about 8 seconds they will all disappear. And there they go. And now you can see Van Dam has his timer for the objectives he's got. And let's open the map. So there's the objectives that just appeared. And you can see I goofed. The objective is up here. My boys are out of position. It's up here. There it is. So we better make a beeline for that objective. So you guys just remember, the objective is here, not down where I deployed my men. It's at this crossroads, and all you have to do is move your Toussaint's brigade or Bomb's brigade, or whichever one you try to decide to send to this one. So they're not going to have to do any fighting, so I'm going to double-quick them and get them here as fast as I can. And I'm going to have them use road movement because it's quicker, and just, yeah. And it only takes about 3 minutes for them to get there, but that's 1,500 points that I lost out on by placing these guys in the wrong position. And again, it's just because I hadn't played the scenario in a while, and I wasn't exactly sure where the second objective appeared. I knew this one. I knew this appeared right by the artillery line, but I was like, is it this one? Is it this one? I wasn't sure. So I thought it was here. It's really here. So run, boys. Get to that objective as fast as you can. You're missing out on points. So 1 minute. We've already lost 500 points. And it's okay because I got, during the battle, I got way above 5,000 points. I got 11,000 points. So losing this 1,500 points here is not the end of the world because I got so many points during the battle. But yeah, you guys can get a lot more by sending this brigade to the right spot at the, instead of the wrong spot like I did. 2 minutes now, we've lost 1,000 points. Come on, boys, run. Run like the Army du Nord away from Waterloo. Fast. So Hulot managed to get 214 points, even though his entire division wasn't engaged. And those 200 points are just simply from his divisional artillery battery that we decided to keep. So just that battery alone scored 214 points. Come on, boys. You're losing points. There they go. We now have the objective. And this number going down is the range they are from the objective. So as they're approaching the objective, that is the range decreasing from it. So anywhere within 200 yards, or it might be 300 yards on this objective. Well, come on, boys, move into position, and then you can rest up. So we have both those objectives now, and like I said, each one of these objectives is worth 500 points a minute. So with 2 of them now, that's 1,000 points per minute, and you're going to see the score down here just skyrocket. Every minute it's going to go up by 1,000 points. And we've got 27 minutes left in the scenario. Plenty of time to rack up all the points we need. So here comes the courier now from Grouchy to Van Dam, letting him know, bad news. It seems things did not go well at Waterloo. Today is not a good day for the Empire. All right, General Van Dam, we have received terrible news from Marshal Soult. The Army du Nord has been routed near Mount St. John, and it is in full retreat. We need to leave the area and retreat before the other corps of the Prussian army can move to block and destroy us. Disengage your troops and regroup them in 2 areas, one on the road to Gorbias and one on the road to Limale as soon as possible. And that is from Marshal Grouchy, who realizes we need to get the hell out of Dodge. However, we're not going to bother moving any of our troops that we have already deployed in the front there because we already have these objectives covered. So we don't need to do that. In fact, if you don't have these objectives covered, it's pretty much impossible to win the scenario because you need all 30,000 of these points to really win the scenario. So really, you have to have these two objectives covered from the beginning. So I don't see any way to actually not occupy these objectives and actually try and disengage your troops from this, really far forward position and get them here in time to rack up the amount of points you need to get a major victory. So you pretty much have to do it this way. So with the turning of the tide, so to speak, now the Prussians are going to regroup and come back. But we're going to take our cavalry here that are in the woods and send them out here to basically scout the Prussians as they come back. And the Prussians are going to lead with their cavalry, and we will be set up to meet them. So you can see all our objectives that were up here have now disappeared. And we're getting our points now from these other two objectives. Here's the one back on the hill. And it does take the Prussians quite a while to regroup and turn around and come after us. But they're coming after us. The idea behind the scenario is, of course, that we're disengaging our troops and trying to head out of here. But we're of course doing no such thing. We have those objectives covered, so we do not need to disengage our forces here. So if they get close, we're really ready to greet them because we have a lot of guns, we have infantry, we have artillery, and we really haven't taken any casualties, really anything worth mentioning. About 300 casualties total. So we're in good shape. We have Exelmans' entire corps out here. Nothing's going to threaten them. Look at these guys. What were they doing? So yeah, our squares weren't even engaged. None of our cavalry over here was engaged. So we're at 16,000 points, and like I said, it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up because it's 1,000 points a minute from these two objectives. And like I said, I think we top out at around 39,000 points. But most of this last 20 minutes is pretty much a lull. Like I said, it takes the Prussians quite a while to reorganize and turn around and come back after us, and we haven't disengaged. We're deployed. We're ready to meet them. So we will take our cavalry out of the woods there and send them forward to scout the Prussian advance very shortly. And there's our 2nd Brigade covering the 2nd objective. Or no, this is actually this is the first one. This is Van Dam. So here's the 3rd Corps set up across the river from Wavre. Just giving you an overview of the map here. See, we have a lot of troops from the 3rd Corps just sitting here that didn't get involved at all. There's the 2nd objective over there. So we're already at 18,000 points. And yeah, here's the real low. Everything is falling silent now. The Prussians are kind of out of view, regrouping, but we'll grab our cavalry here, and they're starting to move out from the woods here so that they can get a better view of the Prussians approaching. The remnants of the Prussian cavalry here. Boy, there was not much left of them. Exelmans Corps really put a hurting on them. They were probably pretty drained from fighting with Pajol, though. So they would have been already weakened by the time Exelman hit them. So we're almost at 20,000 points. Another 20 minutes left to go. And our cavalry is moving out of the woods. I see one little Prussian cannon. Are they coming forward? Looks like it. And I see a Prussian courier. Maybe we'll be lucky to intercept him. So I'm sending my cavalry out to kind of scout the route leading towards Brussels here, because I'm guessing that the Prussians are kind of around here. That gun is moving off again. So we're at 21,000 points. So we are more than ready to meet a force if they come at us. Like I said, we haven't even taken 300 casualties. So our cavalry brigade is moving out, and I'm just thrusting them out to scout the Prussian advance. But yeah, there's really nothing going on. The whole twist of this scenario is that you have to know to cover those two objectives when they appear. And other than that, the scenario is pretty easy. You know, like I said, you can really have some fun with it. Set up a battery, a big massed battery, and bomb the Prussians to smithereens, and bring your cavalry, bring a cavalry brigade with you, and You know, you can really use a lot of combined arms BS tactics on the Prussians, and it's really not hard. You know, we only bothered capturing basically 2 objectives. You know, we got a little bit from that one in the woods at the end there. You certainly don't need to go trying to capture any of those far away objectives. You know, why disperse your forces and make things hard on yourself? Just, you know, well, you know, really 1 or 2 objectives is more than enough to do it. And, you know, so long as you cover those 2 objectives and be ready for them to appear, literally you can get away with just 5,000 points in this part of the battle over here, and that'll be enough, you know. And without really even trying, I got close to 11,000 points, you know. And I really took my sweet time with it. I had fun with it. So it looks like there was quite the cavalry engagement over here. I was too busy worrying about what I was doing to watch it, but there was definitely a good scuffle. But it definitely looks like Exelmans' corps got the best of it against the Prussians, who admittedly were probably, you know, considerably weakened after fighting with Pajol. So we're at 24,000 points. Got about 15 minutes left. All right, so our cavalry is now in position. You can see a Prussian supply wagon. So we can see some officers. So we can definitely tell now at this point the Prussians are heading this way. Definitely see some officers running around. So they should be coming into view shortly. And then maybe something exciting will happen. So our guns have resumed firing. And we can see there's definitely a group of forces just out of view here. I can definitely see some officers out there. Like just out of view are probably some infantry or cavalry or artillery or something. Here's a supply wagon. So I'm just going to let my cavalry sit right there and see what pops into view. You can feel the tension building. What's out there? Whatever it is, our cavalry here will be the first to see it. And all I see is an officer. I see one officer And I think this is the same cannon that's been wandering around that our guns have been firing on. And I reattached that other brigade that was back here. There's no reason to keep them back there anymore. There's no objective, so we might as well recombine them with the rest of Le Capitain's brigade and bring Vichery up as well. We have 28,000 points. 10 minutes to go. And let's go back to our cavalry here, because I'm sure whatever's popping, they're going to see it first. I see an officer very close. What's behind him? So yeah, we're a little bit below a rise. We're kind of in a, it's kind of a hill. Oh, I see some cavalry. So there's definitely one cavalry squadron there. You better have some buddies with you. You're no threat, but oh, there's two cavalry squadrons. Do you boys want to tangle with Valen's brigade? So 29,000 points. Three cavalry squadrons. Four cavalry squadrons. Oh, we may have a fight on our hand. Now, my boys are all rested up. So if you want to fight, we're ready for it. Come get some. Don't see much else going. There's another Prussian cavalry squadron. So it's mostly cavalry I see so far. I don't really see any infantry. Oh, here they come. Here they come. You boys want it? You're going to get it. We will totally give it to you. So here they come. And we're going to hit them. Vive la France. Give it to them, boys. So one of our battalions immediately gave way, but our other ones are doing good. And we're running them off. Hit it, boys. Give them the cold steel. So we are kicking their butts. There's a good old-fashioned cavalry smash-up right here. And we are kicking the bejesus out of these Prussians. Run them down, boys. Run them down. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, look at all that infantry. Oh, boy, they're coming from everywhere. Okay, let's rein this cavalry charge in. And maybe think about pulling back. Wow, that is a lot of infantry out there. They have really collected themselves. I think perhaps now would be the time to pull our cav. Wow, they are really coming from everywhere. They have turned around completely on us. So I think it's time to rein in our cavalry here, who are being rather excessive in their pursuit of the Prussians here, and are still going after them. Come on, boys. Give it a rest. Pull back. So there's more Prussian cavalry, more Prussian infantry. They are all coming back. These guys won't stop. They're charge happy. I'm like having to force them to retreat because they're just charge happy. You did good, guys, but you know, there's a lot of Prussian troops out there. Let's not be superheroes. You know, let's fall back on our lines and let our artillery do its job as these Prussians come up. But they're still real far away, and there is only 6 minutes left in the scenario. So by charging this cavalry and really breaking up the advance and forcing the Prussian infantry to kind of stop and slow down, you know, we've really brought ourselves the time to get to the end of the scenario. Now, it looks like the Prussians are moving to try and get around our right flank, but really I have plenty of time to deploy Le Capitaine in line and you know, set a flank guard up here. No problem. So that charge was pretty successful. We routed most of the Prussian cavalry, and looks like we were able to disengage pretty safely, and we can start pulling our cavalry back towards our lines now. So you can see the Prussians are moving in on our flank. I saw an officer there, but it's okay. There's only a few more minutes left in the scenario. 34,000 points. One more click away from topping 35,000. And Le Capitaine is deploying on the flank here. You can see a Prussian officer crossing the stream here. He's got some cavalry and some infantry behind him, but like I said, not enough time. Not enough time. That last cavalry charge pretty much stalled the Prussian advance from being able to do anything. And even if they were able to come up, what? This is some cakewalk of a line we set up here? Please. Pound them to pieces. So I see a Prussian cavalry squadron here. We got infantry back here, but only 3.5 minutes left. Not enough time. And even if you did get here, you still have Le Capitaine's entire brigade sitting there. And this is not Prussian cavalry, that's our cavalry coming back, so they're still way back there, you know. We did a good job stalling them out with that charge. It's going to take them a while to get across that stream anyway. That'll slow down your movement. So, got a Prussian regiment moving in, 3 battalions. We have 36,000 points, so we have what we need for a major victory. And 3 minutes to go, so that's another 3,000 points. So we're going to, like I said, around 39,000 points. So we've got Le Capitaine set up in line here. He's ready to receive anybody. And we'll take this rightmost unit and put him in square in case this cavalry squadron that's crossing the stream decides to get froggy. One square should stop them up pretty good. but this isn't going to amount to anything. There's only a minute and a half left in the scenario. All the Prussians are still too far away. So they're just getting across that stream now. There's only a minute left. Nothing's going to happen. Still, I'll just form this unit up in square, just so they can't make a last-ditch effort. So 1 minute to go, and you can see the Prussians are still very far away. These guys haven't even entered the woods yet. Well, that looks like a battalion right there. And these guys are all way too far away to make any kind of difference in, 20 seconds. So 20 seconds to go, guys. And that will bring us to the end of the core scenarios. And here we are at our corps commander, Van Dam. And here we go. Major victory, 39,195 points. We took 339 casualties and inflicted 2,300 casualties. So, like I said, not a huge battle, and I took my sweet time for sure, but I had fun setting up my grand battery and using my cavalry, and I just got enough points to make sure that we crossed the finish line. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the core scenarios. When next we return, guys, we will start the full battles of the 100 Days campaign. And I'm going to start with Quatre Bras, and then we'll do Ligny, then Wavre, and then we will close with the granddaddy of them all, Waterloo. And each battle has a full battle from both sides, from the French and from the Allied side. So 4 battles, but 8 scenarios left to go. And again, we'll be starting with Quatre Bras, then Ligny, Wavre, and then Waterloo. So yeah, that's it for the core scenarios, guys. Wow, I can't believe we've made it this far. Certainly never thought I would actually make it this far when I came up with this crazy idea of playing every single scenario in the game for YouTube. But yeah, we're approaching the end. All that's left is the full battles. So like I said, this is a long video, guys. So when you get the notifications, you guys that are my subscribers, let it keep processing, because it's going to take a long time for YouTube to process this into HD, because it's almost 3 hours long. All right, guys, so that's it, and I will see you next time for the Battle of Quatre Bras. Take it easy.